Supercharge your knitting skills with the Knotted Neckwarmer. While it takes about an hour to make, you will find this accessory very versatile. Just fold, twist, thread, and knot the tail to create several fashion looks. Plus, this accessory is chock full of techniques like quick cast on, long stitch no roll edging, giant buttonholes, hung hem, and full fashion decreasing. The companion pattern is available by following the link in the description below. I am demonstrating on a Brothers Bulky 270 with ribber, but no electronics are required. Since you'll need less than 3.5 ounces of worsted weight yarn for the neck warmer, raid your stash and let's begin. I'm setting my tension at 9.1 click. I have my main bed sinker plate in place, and I'm on knit in both directions for this carriage. So now I can begin to cast on. And this is a real easy cast on. I need 32 stitches, so that's 16 left of 0 and 16 right of 0. I bring that into hold position, and then I'm going to just retract every other needle to the out of work position, so that the end needle on the right, which is closest to the carriage, is in work yet. And this is my waste yarn, and I'm just going to knit across one row. Take my cast on comb and hang that on those stitches. I'm also going to put some weight on it right now from the very beginning. Then I'm going to return to my needles, and I'm going to pull up the ones that I had retracted. Now the end one over here, don't forget it, because this is the 16th needle. Now because it was every other needle, this one was not knit the last time, but you want to bring it up so that you can continue to knit. And so now I'm just going to knit back. And then I'm going to continue to knit just a few rows. Now I'm going to load my main yarn. I want to leave myself a good ample yarn tail, maybe 18 inches, because I will use it later. And now I'm going to reset my row counter to 0, and I'm going to knit just 2 rows. Now this is where I'm going to engage my ribber. First I'm going to take my sinker plate off on the main bed. You must take this off first, because you cannot bring up your ribber unless this is off. So I have to unthread it. Now I'm going to bring up my ribber all the way to the top. And I'm going to place my sinker plate for the ribber right into place. I'm not changing any settings on my main bed, but on my ribber I'm going to do 2 settings. First I'm going to set it at main tension minus 1 whole number. So I'm setting it at 8 and 1 dot. I'm also taking the right hand lever and pushing it into the holding position, or the partial knitting position, which is the PR position. The left one is on N. Now we're going to do our setup, our needle setup for the long stitch. Now the first thing you have to pay attention to is your lever over here. You want to make sure that your racking indicator is on H3 or a whole number. It doesn't matter which one it is, as long as it's a whole number. And what that means is it's at half pitch. Half pitch means that the needles miss each other. They're lined up with the gate pegs on the opposite bed. That way they will not collide when we actually knit these rows. The next thing we want to do is locate the last 4 edge stitches on the left. And we are going to bring up 3 needles on the ribber bed to go in between those 4 needles. Then over on the right side, we're going to bring up 3 needles that will come up between the end 4 stitches on the right side. And you just want to bring them into work position. I am going to fill these stitches, and I am going to take the bar between the stitches on the main bed and pick those 3 bars up and put them on my needles. You see how I picked that up? I'm not picking up the purl bump. I'm picking up the bars, just to start. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing and lift up the bars to fill the 3 needles on the ribber on the left-hand side. So now we've set our carriages, we've got our stuff all hooked together, and we begin knitting. We're on row counter 2. We want to go to row counter 16. But let's talk about what's going to happen. When we go this way, because the lever is in knit here and this is in knit in both directions, it's going to knit all the stitches going this way. Okay, so we're going to knit 1 row. Now you are going to have a little bit of jerkiness on the ends because there's ribber stitches there. So to help knit along, we're going to add our 7s. A 7 is a little stiff wire piece that looks like a 7 and has a little loop at the end. We're going to hang that on the edge stitches. And when you're ribbing, it helps to hold it down. Now, then we take our weight and from underneath, we hang it in the loop. So we're going to do the same thing on both sides, but this time we turn the 7 to face inward toward the knitting and put the weight on in the loop. When we return going this way, because our carriage on the ribber is in partial, it's only going to knit the main bed. So going this way, it knits both beds, and when coming back, it knits only this way. And so we're going to proceed to knit until we get to row 16. Okay, we're at 16. So we've just begun our long stitch borders. But on row 16, we are going to knit buttonholes. Now I do have some contrasting yarn, and for each buttonhole I'm going to use a nice long piece. But we're going to do our counting for our buttonhole setup. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 belong to the edge. So the next 7 are going to make the first buttonhole. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the next buttonhole. And that leaves us 6 on this end. So now I'm going to take my first strand of contrasting color, and I hope you can see this really well. I'm going to hold these ends together. I am going to move all 7 stitches, or 7 needles rather, down until the latches close around the piece of yarn that I laid in the hooks. Then I'm going to simply knit them off by hand real quick. The reason you do it this way is that way if your latches are closed, you know it's going to knit off. I'm going to have to drop my bed just a little right now because I'm going to twist this together and put a clip on it so it's weighted and put it down in the little area. Now if you want, you can also add a weight, and I do suggest that you do it right at the buttonhole because this is a gigantic buttonhole. We want to put a weight right there to make sure that is knit off. Then we're going to take our other strand and repeat this process for the second buttonhole. Raise the bed again and knit until row counter is 32. At row counter 32, create the turning row by increasing the tension 1 full number on the main bed. Don't touch the ribber, those settings stay the same. Then knit 1 row. At this point, just turn back the tension on the main bed to 9.1 and knit until the row counter is 48. Now on this row, we are actually going to form the buttonholes and finish them off. So in this case, I do need to drop my bed all the way down because I do need some working room right here. I'm going to remove all the weights, all the clips, all the everything, even my cast on comb. And I'll join you in just a minute. Now that everything is off, Can you see how the knitting is beginning to roll up off the machine? To prevent this, I'm going to rehang just one weight behind the knitting. And then I'm going to count off. Remember the first 6 were the edge stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm going to count off the 7 buttonhole stitches and bring them up just 1/4 of an inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stay in work position and just slightly bring these up. Just so I can see them. That's 6 and that's 7. That leaves 6 on this edge. Now, I'm going to return to my first buttonhole. Here's my 7 needles that are slightly pushed forward, and here's my buttonhole. On the top edge of the buttonhole, just find the little line there. The top edge is actually the loops that are just under the top line of purple. Okay? And if you notice, there are 6 whole stitches in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then there, if you look at the edge, this stitch has just 1 loop through it, so it's sort of a half stitch. And the one on this end is a half stitch. But 6 plus a half and a half equals 7. You have to notice, you have to see how this works. On the bottom edge, which is this one right here, there's our bottom purple stitches, and the loops right above it are the stitches. And there are 7 whole stitches right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to first work with the upper loop, the upper loops, which are these ones just above it. Then we're going to come back and work with the bottom loops. This is important to see how you begin. It's really easy to do. This is the top loop of the buttonhole that has the half stitch in it. And that is going to go right on, not that one, this one. That's the first stitch of the buttonhole. That one goes there. But before you go on, you're going to go 1 to the right of it and hang it on the next needle, like that. This stitch doesn't get worked. It just is reinforcing the buttonhole. So now we're going to return to the very first one that has the half stitch in it, or the half stitch, which is, you can see with the purple. And we're going to manually push the needle up with the loop we just hung in it and knit it off. Then we're going to transfer this stitch to the next needle in the buttonhole, to the left. Then we're going to go find the next stitch of the buttonhole. We're going to place it on that same stitch. Now notice how I kind of stuck my finger in there, because I'm going to knit that stitch that I just placed off. But I'm going to make sure the needle advances so that both the loops that were on the needle are behind the latch. And I'm going to knit it off. Then I'm going to transfer this needle, or this stitch, to the next needle. So I have 2 empty needles now. Then I'm going to the next stitch in the buttonhole, put it on there, advance it, knit it off, transfer it to the next stitch, and we're going to repeat this process. Place it on the same needle, advance it so the 2 loops that were on it, on the 2 stitches that were on it, are behind the latch, and then knit the one that we just hung off. Each time we do this, we gain 1 more empty needle. So we'll go to the next stitch here, place it on, knit it off, transfer this to the next needle. Let me move my camera over just a little. So we're getting to the end. You can see we only have a few more stitches. We have 5 needles out of work. Okay, so now we're going to put this stitch on and knit it off. Transfer this one over. Here's number 7. And if you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is number 7. I'm going to transfer that last one. Now I have 7 needles out of work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what I'm looking for. So now I hung that stitch right on there. I am not going to knit it off, but I am going to go and hang the next stitch from the top loop right on top of it. And then I'm going to go to 1 stitch on the left and hang that stitch too. That's just a reinforcement. Okay, now we have all these empty needles and we need a buttonhole. So we're going to go to the first upper loop of the bottom edge and hang. Remember I told you we have 7 upper loops of the bottom edge? We're going to just hang each of those right onto the empty needles. There's 1 for 1. So that buttonhole is basically finished. I can hang a weight on this now. And I'm going to tuck these little ends right into there because I don't need them messing up my ribber later. Repeat the whole process to complete the second buttonhole. Once again, I'm going to put a weight on it so that it's off on the next go round. And I'm probably going to pull these out just to help them along a little bit. Even with the ribber, that will knit. Now I'm going to bring up my bed and knit until the row counter is 64. See how they go in? Take a look. So now we're at row 64. So the first thing we're going to do is take all of our weights off, except maybe the one on the back. I'm going to leave one on the back. Okay? And I'm going to take my double-eyed bodkin, or double-eyed, some people call it a double-eyed needle, and I'm going to transfer the end 3 stitches on the ribber to the end 3 stitches on the main bed. I'll do this on both ends. Then we're going to drop our ribber and return to the cast on row because we now need to hang the hem. Start on the right and work toward the left. You will find there is 1 less stitch in this row as there are needles in work. But when you get to the end, there is a little tiny bump. Get your needle right into that knot, and that makes the last stitch. We need to remove the waist knitting right now so that we can set up the end needles for the long stitches on the edges. So I'm just cutting this end where that knot is, and I'm going to pull that stitch out, and you'll see how that stitch, if I didn't hang that stitch, it would have been a loose loop, and it could have come out. Then I return to this side, and all I have to do is pull this end. And the waist yarn comes off. I'm going to put a weight here. Oops. I'm going to put a weight here. I'm going to lift up my bed, put it back in place, because we're not finished with the needles yet. So now I want to bring up my end needles. but I don't want to leave them empty. I want them to be nice and tight. So I'm going to go to the edge stitch, insert my eyelet, and just hang that edge of that stitch right there. As you see, I'm just picking up one side of that knit stitch and hanging it on those needles. On this side, we're going to do the same thing. I've pulled out all my stitches on the main bed to help it along because it's going to be a hard row to knit. And on the ribber bed, I'm just leaving them down in regular place. The ribber still stays at 8.1. The tension on the main bed just for this row is 10.1. I'm going to crank it back down to 9.1 on the main bed and leave it at 8.1 on the ribber. So now we're ready to knit the rest of the neck warmer. So we're going to knit back one row because we have just hung our hem and we're ready to go. We want to knit a total of 6 rows. So we've knit 1 and 2 after we hung the hem. So we've just finished our first 6 rows, and now we're going to begin the decreases. And the decreases I find work very well. If you're right-handed, put the decreases on the right-hand side. If you're left-handed, put the decreases on the left-hand side because it's easier to thread the tail when you're draping it. So we're going to move the 4th stitch to the outside edge. That's to the right on this side. And then we're going to move the 3 stitches together to the inside edge. Then we come over to the ribber and move the edge long stitches in also, so they stay between the last 4 stitches on the main bed. Then knit 6 rows. And we're going to repeat this until 4 stitches remain on the main bed and 3 stitches on the ribber. Our last move is the 4th one here behind this one. And then we're going to move this one over this way. Knit 6 more rows. Now, transfer the stitches from the ribber to the main bed. Cut the yarn and remove the knitting from the machine with a yarn needle. Use the yarn tail to secure the tip of the neck warmer. You can see that you did the buttonhole correctly because you can see just the purple in between. And see where my fingers are? Okay. Reach inside before you close those sides and pull it. And you see how our reinforcing ends make that buttonhole absolutely perfectly neat. The only finishing you have to do at this point is, if you desire to close those up, go ahead. If you don't, it's okay. Just weave the ends in. And don't forget that light steaming will lay the long stitches into a no finishing, no roll edge. I hope you enjoyed knitting the knotted neck warmer. Please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications of upcoming videos and events. Happy machine knitting!